On this week's episode of Nosebleed Radio, we have Frank Fleming of Sports Encyclopedia and Barstool Sports.
Hey, Tucker, you sure smell good today.
Oh, thanks, Shane. I did laundry a few days ago.
Oh, did you now? How'd you get your clothes to stay smelling fresh so long?
You know, I used a couple of those Tide Pods. Turn out they make fantastic for laundry, but not for eating.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I definitely would have eaten them had you not said that.
I also used Downy Unstoppables and Wash Scent Boosters. They really seal in the freshness.
Well, that's fantastic. Where do you keep them at your house?
That's a great question, Shane. I keep them in the bathroom next to my Cottonelle Ultra Comfort Care Big Roll toilet paper that I just stocked up on.
Wow, this has been incredibly informative. If you want to be like Tucker and have great smelling clothes and you need to stock up on some toilet paper,
I know I do.
Then check out the links in our description to purchase them from Amazon through your favorite podcast. You know you're already going to purchase these products. You may as well help some poor college kids run their podcast at the same time.
Roll the music.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
You're listening to Nosebleed Radio. Here's your host, Tucker Franklin.
What is going on? Episode 10 of Nosebleed Radio. I'm here with the boys, Kieran Brennan.
How's it going?
Toby Todd.
What's up?
And Shane Miller.
Hey, how's it going, Roll Hawks?
Episode 10. We made it to double digit, fellas.
That's crazy. That's so weird
wild.
to think this is in 10 weeks now.
Let's do our favorite number 10. Shane, you want to kick us off?
All right, yeah, I've got two number 10s going right now. My first one, J.D. Spielman, wide receiver from Nebraska. He had a great year last year. Looking forward to another great year this year under Coach Scott Frost. We'll see how he does in that offense there. But another one I've got, kind of an older one, Fran Tarkenton, quarterback from the Minnesota Vikings. One of the harder names for me to learn to pronounce when I was a kid watching the NFL, like Football Life movies. Honestly, one of my favorite ones to watch was that Football Life of Fran Tarkenton.
I'm going to go with three number 10s. Number 1, as tradition, Boston Celtics, JoJo White. Recently passed away, graduated from the University of Kansas, number retired in Boston now, as are most numbers, 1 through 50. I've also got Trent Green, quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champion with the St. Louis Rams, went to high school with his son, what up TJ? And also, another one, near and dear to my heart, Tom Brady, wore number 10 at Michigan before donning the 12 in New England. So Tom Brady at Michigan, my two favorite things in sports right now. So.
All right, I just got one number 10, and that's Mr. Tony La Russa, one of the best managers of all time. Coached the Cardinals to a couple World Series championships and a few World Series appearances.
My number 10 is Dick Hauser, former Kansas City Royals manager.
Dick.
He's got an award named after him, too.
Hauser Dick Award?
Yep. We did mention last week on people who have awards named after him, and he's another guy that has his award. His number is actually one of 3 numbers retired in Kansas City, the number 10. And my other number 10 goes to any good soccer player, because we all know that any good soccer player wears the number 10.
We went to the College World Series last year as a group, and there wasn't a single spot in Omaha you couldn't go around that stadium and not see Dick. You're just seeing Dick everywhere around that stadium, so.
It's very influential on college baseball.
I think Dick has had a huge influence on college baseball. You can't talk to any college baseball announcer without them bringing up Dick, and their favorite Dick, which is Dick Hauser.
Yeah, he has a big influence on Florida State. I think their field is named after Dick.
He's pretty big, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he's pretty big Dick.
Move on to some NHL playoff talk. The puck dropped on the NHL playoffs on Wednesday night. We had the Jets beating the Wild 3-2 for the first franchise victory in the playoffs. Penguins absolutely throttling the Flyers 7-0. Golden Knights squeaking out a 1-0 win, and that goal came like 5 minutes into the game. So they had to hold that 1-0 lead through the whole game. Got lots of matchups still to come. So, fellas, what were your thoughts of these first couple games, and what are your feelings for the rest of the tournament?
My first thought was, oh shit, the Penguins are really good again. Because I had initially thought that the Bruins would be our toughest team we have to play against to get to the Cup. I've changed my mind. It's now officially the Penguins and always will be the Penguins, I think, until the end of the time, until they stop being so good. Or maybe Sidney Crosby dies. Yeah, but the Flyers are dead, right? Like, they are like DED, dead on the ice, like not making a comeback after that. They got absolutely murdered out there by the Penguins.
But it's just game one, and it was on the away ice. See, it's not a series until the home team loses.
Yeah, but that was absolutely embarrassing. You got spanked in the playoffs. Like, I've never seen a playoff game win by more than 3 goals.
They got spanked in probably one of the biggest home ice advantages there is. So I would say let's wait on that. Flyers are absolutely dead because they may have lost 6-0, but it still goes down as just one loss.
Last year, the Sharks actually beat the Oilers 7-0 in a playoff game in the tank. The Oilers actually went on to win that series. With that being said, you said it's not a series until the home team loses. Certainly not going to be a series until we get to Philadelphia, I think. I think the Penguins have this one all but wrapped up. The playoff experience, just, Sidney Crosby in general, all those guys, Kuznetsov, Hagelin, Malkin, all those guys are just they're just too good, They have too much experience. They've played for too long as a team. It's hard to count them out in any series, really, but especially in this one against the Flyers. I was really impressed yesterday. We saw the Knights. They won 1-0 against the Kings. It was the first time in 50 years that a team has won their inaugural playoff game in a shutout. So, big ups, Marc-Andre Fleury, a former Penguins guy, Stanley Cup champion the last 2 years. He had 30 saves, no goals allowed. Tremendous outing by him. So I think that series there is going to be one of the more competitive ones because, Quick, he only allowed 1 goal yesterday, made 27 saves. That was a very defensive-minded game. It seems like they're going to slug it out a little bit. I know that the Knights had Carlson score all those goals in the regular season, but they ratchet that defense up come playoff time. So I think this is going to be a really hard-nosed series, and if it's a goaltending matchup like we saw yesterday, then this is going to be one fun series to watch.
Kieran and I watched the Jets-Wild game. That was the first win, like I said earlier, in franchise history. They weren't very good in Atlanta. But Connor Hellebuck, he had 18 saves, which means there was only 20 shots on goal, which is unreal for that Jets defense.
So you said they weren't good when they were in Atlanta?
No.
Is that because they were in the South? There's no such thing as Southern hockey?
What about the Lightning when they sweep your ass?
Oh, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I already predicted we're winning the Cup, so we have to beat the Lightning to get there, and we've beaten them all season, so I'm not worried.
How many teams in the NHL playoffs right now are in the South?
Now, are you're referring to the Southeast, I assume? The southeast part of the country?
Yeah, Southeast.
Okay, yeah, because it would be Lightning, Preds. I think that's it, right?
Yeah,
they didn't make it.
Yeah, they just happen to be the 2 best teams in the league right now. So
opinion based.
It's all stats.
I'm really excited. My Sharks go tonight. I'm really excited. Those are 2 teams. That's more Western hockey than Southern, even though it's in Southwest region of the country. But 2 rivals duking it out. The Sharks and Ducks. I'm very excited for this series. I think this is going to be a series that gets really physical. The Sharks just seem to not make any friends come playoff time. There's a lot of big hits on the. We saw Draisaitl last year for the Oilers, who seemed like he had a vendetta out against Sharks players, and so I'm excited for that series. I'm also excited to see, or my Stanley Cup prediction winner, the Boston Bruins. They're set to go tonight. They play the Maple Leafs, and the Maple Leafs are a really exciting team. With that being said, I think the Lightning Devils talk is a little juvenile, since the Bruins are for sure coming out of that Eastern Conference.
You guys just wait. I'm going to be laughing at all of you guys when the Devils are holding up the Cup and you guys are crying because you were wrong.
Fine. That's fine.
I got no dog in the fight. My team didn't even make the playoffs. So
Yeah, me and
R.I.P.
Kieran will laugh at you guys.
Yeah, you're going to get so laughed at.
So, Kieran, are you cheering for the Predators or Avalanche in that series?
In that series?
Yes.
I'm cheering for some good hockey. I'm cheering for a lot of 12-10 finishes.
That's a very that's a very politically correct answer you gave there. Not showing hands on who's your favorite.
Hey, I'm a middleman.
Middleman Dan.
Middleman Dan.
Middleman Kieran.
Obviously, Devils are going to win. I want them to see them win. But I think it'd be kind of cool to see the Knights win a Stanley Cup. Can you imagine a championship parade in Las Vegas? How insane that would be.
Did you see any of the game last night? They put on a spectacle. It was a Broadway show before the game.
I love that. That's so exciting. Obviously not this year because the Devils are going to win, but next year when the Knights have another chance to win the Stanley Cup, their parade's going to be ridiculous.
Tucker and I were watching it, and I am all in on the Knights. I was like, what is going on? This is amazing. I'm all in.
Before we move on from hockey, we wanted to send our condolences up to Humboldt for the tragedy this week. Today was actually wear a hockey jersey for Humboldt. Karen and I are sporting our hockey jerseys. I think we're the only 2 that actually have hockey jerseys. So we're doing it. Thoughts and prayers up to Humboldt. Now, fellas, let's move on to the NBA playoffs. The matchups are set. What do you think about the matchups, Toby? There's some interesting ones out there.
There really are. I saw the matchup between the Warriors and Spurs first round.
Yeah.
And I did some thinking, and I have a theory on that. So the Spurs, this was the first year they really faced any like inside turmoil, within the team. Well, Kawhi Leonard, they've been asking him to come back and play. Everybody said Kawhi's fine. Kawhi's saying I'm not fine. I think what's happening here is Greg Popovich is an evil genius. Greg Popovich knew that if they could get the Spurs, they weren't going to get a top seed in the West this year. The Rockets, the Warriors were too good, too talented for that team. So he said, okay, we're going to wait. We're going to see how everything plays out. He sees the Warriors start to get injured. The Warriors start to get injured. Kawhi Leonard has made more of a big deal about, him being out. His teammates are against him in the locker room. They had intense team meetings in the locker room to try to get Kawhi Leonard to come back and play. So I think Kawhi Leonard might be good enough to go. He didn't play all season. He got those few games in, so he has basketball under his legs this year. The last time we saw him play in meaningful basketball, he was injured by Zaza Pachulia and the Golden State Warriors in Oracle in Game 1 of the postseason last year in the Western Conference Finals. So let's say this. Steph Curry, he's out for the first round in that series. The Warriors have been struggling a little bit without him. They're, 12-9 in their last 21 games without Steph Curry. Kawhi Leonard, insert him back into the lineup for San Antonio, and you've got a series right there. Because you've got Kawhi, who's, been rested this entire year, if he's willing to play. If he's healthy, actually going to play. So my theory is Kawhi Leonard has been staging this. The Spurs have been staging this the whole time to get the matchup they wanted so they can upset the Warriors first round if Kawhi plays. With that being said, I do not believe that Kawhi will play. Even if he does play, I still think the Warriors have too much. I'm really excited, too, about the Celtics matchup because this year is not the Celtics' year. Kyrie going down, Gordon Hayward going down, losing Marcus Smart, who's a very capable postseason player. That hurts a lot, but we do get to see a lot from our younger guys. We get to see Tatum, Brown kind of take up a leadership role, against the Bucks team who has a lot of talent, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, those guys. So we get to see him play a really, really good team first round. And there's a good chance that they can win that series still. I still believe that the Celtics could win that series, get more playoff experience under Brown, under Tatum. And then next season, when Kyrie and Gordon come back healthy, they'll be competing with a team like the 76ers or a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I'm excited to see my team in the postseason. I think that a lot of the first-round postseason series are going to be won by the higher seeds. That seems to be how it goes in the NBA. But looking down the road, I think there's a lot of intriguing series. Second round, the semifinals, the conference finals. I think there's a lot of intriguing series that can happen because this year's been so competitive in the NBA between those middle-tier teams,
What a coincidence, your theory about Kawhi Leonard. I have a similar theory about the Celtics, how that Gordon Hayward injury, that was faked. And Kyrie's injury, that's also faked. And they're going to come back healthy for this first round, and they're going to win a lot of games.
See, what's interesting about that is you never actually saw Gordon Hayward's ankle. You saw it through like a sock or like I think it was tights or something he was wearing. So you never actually saw his ankle break. It could have all been staged. Kieran might be on to something.
I've seen a magician before. Close-up magic. That could have happened. Just really far away close-up magic.
You can't tell me Gordon Hayward's hair doesn't look like a magician's hair.
Oh, yeah.
Total magician hair.
100%.
Yeah, it looks like it's got hat hair from the big top hat with a rabbit in it. That's exactly what's going on. Also, I think you might be onto something about Greg Popovich is like an evil genius. Has anyone noticed how much he looks like President Snow from the Hunger Games? Have you ever seen them in the same room together? I haven't. Maybe it's the same person.
One thing that I also hope to see a lot from the playoffs is, well, first of all, I hope to see Kieran's theory come true. But second, I really would like to see the 76ers collapse in the postseason. I hate the city of Philadelphia. I hate the 76ers team, and we can talk about Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell too after this, but I really want to see the 76ers fail because everybody seems to be so high on this team. They're saying they're the only team that can challenge the Cavs in the Eastern Conference. I hate Philadelphia. I hate that this is Philadelphia's year. I want to see the 76ers lose so bad. First round, I'm declaring myself a Miami Heat fan. I'm going to go put on my Dwayne Wade jersey that I got in second grade, see if it still fits. Wear it around like it's a crop top or some sports bra, whatever. But, man, I want to see the 76ers lose so bad. Like, you guys have no idea how bad I want to see them lose in the first round.
I want to see the Cavaliers lose. As a Warriors fan, I don't like the Cavaliers that much.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not necessarily looking forward to the playoffs because, like Toby said earlier, it's just not the Celtics year. But if the Celtics lose first round, which I really hope they don't, but it's a possibility without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, I would like to see the Bucks do really well. I've got cousins in Milwaukee, so shout out to the McGuires if you guys are listening. I would like to see the Bucks do well. We haven't heard really anything from them in the last 10 years or so. The West, though, I think is going to be really interesting because this is one of those years where the Warriors aren't just the most dominant team in the West. The Houston has looked really good this year, and I honestly think that the Spurs, if Toby's right about Kawhi Leonard being able to come back, I think the Spurs can definitely give them a run for money, and after that, I think the Rockets could definitely give them a run for the money. Especially with James Harden playing the way he has been lately, he just looks hungrier this year than he did last year. Remember that Game 6 last year where he literally looked like he just gave up in the second quarter? I don't know. He just hasn't looked like that in a long time. So I would love to see the Rockets go. They're my West team. So I'd love to see them go to the championship as long as it's not against the Celtics. I don't know. I'm excited for the West.
It's convenient how I just now learned that you're a Rockets and a Celtics fan. Hopping on the bandwagon there.
No, that's been years.
Yeah.
Toby knows.
I like the Rock. Well, I'm a James Harden fan. I like the Rockets because of James Harden. But actually, my second favorite team in the NBA is the Utah Jazz. And this year, they got a tough draw. They got the Thunder first round in the playoffs, and had they beaten the Trailblazers, they would have gotten the Pelicans first round. So obviously, they get a much tougher draw getting Oklahoma City. But if they win that series, I don't know when voting goes into place for the Rookie of the Year, the MVP, and all that stuff. But if they go ahead and beat the Thunder first round, I don't care if they lose to the Rockets second round. I would give Donovan Mitchell the MVP. Oh, my bad. Whoa, I'll settle down real quick. I'd give Donovan Mitchell the Rookie of the Year award honors over Ben Simmons. I hate you, Ben Simmons. I hate you, Philadelphia. And
Rookie of the Year is a regular season award. Doesn't take postseason into effect.
And I think, I would agree. They say that about MVP too, that it's a regular season award and it won't take postseason into effect. I really like the beef that's going on between these two guys. When Donovan Mitchell's wearing the hoodie that has the rookie definition spelled on it. Ben Simmons says, "Well, if that's his best argument, then I've got a real good shot to win it." Like a cocky douche. But I agree. There's no other sport that says your first game action is what makes you a rookie. So Ben Simmons, who was out all last season, this is actually his second year in the NBA getting paid by this team. They still consider him a rookie because he didn't play any games last year. And I think that rule is kind of weird. It's really only talked about in this situation, when somebody's up for Rookie of the Year and you've got a second-year player battling a first-year player for the award. But I do think that Ben Simmons, who made comments earlier who said he was not impressed by any other rookie, said he doesn't like to compare himself to players, then compared himself to LeBron James. I mean, comments like that are what really makes me hate guys like Simmons. It makes me cheer for guys like Donovan Mitchell, maybe guys that come off as a little bit more humble. So with that being said, I wish nothing but the worst for the city of Philly going on through the playoffs. I hope the Flyers lose. Hope the 76ers lose. Hope Simmons loses out on Rookie of the Year award honors because, man, I was just thinking about him last night, and he was getting me pissed off just thinking about him. I hate you, Philadelphia, so much.
I just want to point out that I've been a Celtics fan since I was a little kid
Okay.
because my dad was a Larry Bird fan, so I've been a Celtics fan for a long time.
And
also, I was
eating at you.
I started becoming a Rockets fan when I was a kid because of Yao Ming, because I had never seen a tall Asian in my life before. So that was kind of wild to see that. And I was like, this guy's cooking down here in Houston.
And also backing Shane's side, I actually hadn't heard Tucker talk about his Nashville Predators until last year when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Oh,
Which is wow.
I met you guys last year.
Yeah.
We've only known each other for that long.
that is false.
cut that part,
That is
bro.
false.
Yeah,
Tucker
that's
and I met
false.
in the second
That's
grade,
false.
and I never heard him once mention the Predators.
Not a single time.
Tucker used to be a Penguins fan.
That's true.
How convenient.
Put him on the
huh?
spot.
Next, we have an interview with Frank Fleming of sportsecyclopedia.com and Barstool Sports. So here he is, Frank Fleming. We're here with Mets super fan and founder of Sports Encyclopedia and Barstool Sports employee, Frank Fleming. Frank, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. Getting ready for hockey tonight.
Oh, yeah. You got a lot of titles to your name, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
man of many hats.
Yep.
Want to ask, has the New Jersey Transit gotten any better?
New Jersey Transit will never get better.
Okay,
That's fair.
that is fair.
What do you think about the Mets this year so far? They've kind of got off to a good start. What are you thinking?
And they've gone off to an excellent start. I can't imagine them playing any better right now.
What's something you're really excited about the Mets this season?
Just how everyone's playing. Just like everyone's a big hit. Everyone seems to be contributing. Yeah, even though some of the numbers may not be great for some players. Take, for example, Jonas Heston.
Sorry. Do you think that the Mets mascot flipping off the heckler last year helped out the team? Maybe give them that kind of like, fuck the world, Mets versus everybody kind of attitude, just help them start the season?
No, I don't think. But I think it was just like part of last year's just cesspool and nightmare of a season. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong.
You're kind of cutting in and out on us.
Let me see if I can put this by the window.
Okay.
I have terrible cell service here. My landlord who used to work for AT&T blocks it or something.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just joking. But it's like they want you to go back to those stupid landlines.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous. I got AT&T phone service and it's never good.
Yeah, no, that's not good at all. I'm a big Verizon guy. Maybe switch to Verizon. I don't know if that's better out in New Jersey or not.
Well, I tried to switch once to get away from AT&T. I switched to Singular.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, AT&T was laughing their ass off. Yes, 1 month later they brought it.
You just can't avoid them.
It's like a Death Star. You ever notice the logo of AT&T is like a Death Star?
Oh, yeah,
just
it is.
taking everyone
Yeah.
out. I know we got a lot of people down here. We're near Kansas City, so a lot of people down here are Sprint. That's where like the Sprint headquarters is. So, what do you think about that Sprint guy? He used to be the Verizon guy, the Can You Hear Me Now guy. What do you think about him switching over to Sprint? I thought that was awesome.
Well, if you're catering enough, I guess it's the ultimate backstabbing, just like commercial coup you could ever imagine.
Yeah, I loved
goodness.
it. That was sweet.
So on a scale of 1 to Bobby Bonilla, how overrated is Giancarlo Stanton?
Maybe a 5.
Okay, that's
But
not bad.
that's-
Yeah.
We gotta let him settle in first.
Right.
I remember when Mike Piazza had his first month with the Mets, it wasn't very good either. But come July and August, he really got hot. But he had a bad first month with the Mets.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What are your expectations for the Mets this year?
Well, I thought they could win around 89, 90 games and get in the wild card.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see
I
it.
have no reason to believe that, no reason to change that.
I mean, that's a big turnaround from last season. Last season was, like you said earlier, a dumpster fire for the Mets. So
Well,
everything
that could go wrong did go wrong.
yeah, exactly. So anything like above that is progress. I guess you can't really be upset with anything that happens this season as long as it doesn't go down the drain.
Well, if they play up to their full potential, they should be a playoff team.
I think so too.
Right, and you got all your starting pitchers really pitching like they're up to their potential.
Yeah, if everyone stays healthy, they should make the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, I think so too. So we're an anti-Rob Manfred podcast. What is your opinion on Rob Manfred? Do you think he's trying to ruin baseball with all these changes he's bringing in?
Some of them are good, some of them are not. I actually like the pitch clock idea.
Really?
Yes.
Do you think the game's too long as it is now?
Have you ever watched Steve Traxel pitch for your team?
Yeah, I guess I haven't had that opportunity yet.
So we actually had a conversation with former Major Leaguer Mike Magnanti. I don't know if you know of him, but he came on our podcast and said that the pitch clock could actually slow down the game a little bit.
His idea was that, like, if a pitcher noticed the clock was winding down, he'd just step off and throw to first, So he thinks it would stretch the game out, if anything.
I think the goal should be just to get it under 3 hours. If they can get it under 3 hours, they'll be fine.
That's
I
true.
like the limiting the trips to the mound.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I actually
Good
do
first
don't hate
step.
that.
And I think they should enforce rules where the batter can't leave the batter's box.
Yeah.
And it's as simple a rule as this. It shouldn't be too punitive if you don't make the pitch clock. It's just an automatic ball.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
not terrible. I mean, it's not like you're just taking a base or something. It's not.
No, don't take base. Automatic ball.
That's actually a pretty mild. I don't hate that.
And we talked about, too, just off-air, kind of us guys here, talked about how do you penalize in baseball. And I think the best way is probably just balls.
Balls, yeah, exactly.
What do you think about? So you mentioned like the batter stepping out of the box, limiting that. How do you think you penalize? You just give him a strike? Because you only get 3 strikes and you're out.
Right.
That if he's not setting the box and the umpire gives a single to pitch, too bad for him. He can't call timeout. Strike.
All right. All right. I like it. Do you think that going back to Stanton, I know you said we still got to let him settle in, but do you think he could be the first player to ever strike out 300 times in one season?
No, I don't think that's going to happen.
Ah, dang. Okay.
That would be absolutely crazy if that happened.
Yeah. Do you think that him and Judge will be the first teammates to strike out 400 times combined?
That's possible. That's possible to happen. I think they both are capable of striking out near 200 times. 200 or more.
Yeah.
But they're going to hit like 40 home runs each, so
Right.
it's a trade-off. Baseball is different now. They think baseball they think differently. The strikeout is not embarrassing anymore.
Well, Mark McGwire came out recently and said that he still thinks he could hit 70 bombs without PEDs. What do you think about that?
And then they laughed and laughed and laughed.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
You know, I have no problem putting the PED guys in the Hall of Fame. Everyone was doing it. But McGwire was one of these guys that was helped more than others. He did it his whole career. He was one of the first to use it. He was doing it down in the minors.
Yeah.
Before he even came up. Him and McGwire were him and Kosenko were the first two to do steroids. Those were the
Right.
ones that brought steroids into the game.
I think it's crazy that people didn't expect or suspect Mark McGwire of taking steroids earlier. Did you see pictures of him? He was insanely big at that time. He was hitting like 500-foot home runs. Like, how did we not catch on to that earlier?
Yes, they did. Because everyone pretended to look the other way.
Yeah.
Everyone knew.
Yeah.
And
Everyone knew.
it just goes back to the thing because everybody was juicing too. So is it really cheating then?
I mean, I agree. I think that's how you have to look at it.
Yeah.
There was to the point where so many people are doing it that you just call it the steroid era and just move on. Stop sweating over it.
Yeah, I think so too. You mentioned you agree that they should be in the Hall of Fame. What do you think about guys like Pete Rose? Like, he's still not in the Hall of Fame. He was definitely one of the best players. I think so
He
too.
should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, enough's enough.
I mean, he was definitely one of the best players of that, not only on his team, but just of that time period. You know, like you can't you can't tell the history of baseball and not mention Pete Rose.
4,256 hits.
Yeah.
Right.
That's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he made a mistake as a manager. He got punished. He should never manage again. Of course, he's not going to manage again. He's 75.
Yeah.
But no, it's time to move on. The only way you move on is by ending it. Let him get in the Hall of Fame. He'll have his one day in the sun
Yeah.
instead of just dragging on. I think the fact that you let it drag on actually creates more problems than anything else.
Do you think they'll do it before he passes away? Do you think they'll wait until he dies to put him in the Hall?
I think they're going to wait until he dies.
I think so
That's
too.
a shame.
I know, it's terrible. If you had to pick right now, I know it's pretty early in the season, who is your World Series matchup?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I picked Cubs-Yankees, so
Okay.
it's still too early to change that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mentioned Bobby Bonilla earlier. As a Mets fan, what's your opinion on that whole ordeal?
A nightmare.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that he's still being paid. It's an absolute joke. A disgrace.
All good words.
I see. You'd probably say the same thing. Switching over to hockey now, we got the Devils. We're recording this on Thursday night, so the Devils are playing their first playoff game tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm a huge Devils fan. I just started getting into hockey a couple years ago and picked up the Devils because my cousin's a Devils fan. But I've been stating this whole year, it's the Devils' year for the Stanley Cup. How do you think they're going to do in the postseason?
I think they could give the Lightning a fight. I think Tampa, though, is going to find a way to win the series in 7 games, but I like the Devils to at least give a good fight.
I think so too. We played them well all season so far. I mean, I know there's a difference
Well,
between.
3 regular season games, but that's
Yeah.
it's different in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Lightning have playoff experience. They have a good defense. They have good offense. So it's hard to see the Devils actually winning the series, but I think they could give the Lightning all they can handle and more.
All right, so let's say the Devils do beat the Lightning. Who do you think their toughest matchup would be after that on the road to the Cup?
Well, they had trouble all year at Washington, and they had trouble all year with Boston. So either of those two will probably be a hard matchup for them.
Did you see that Pittsburgh game last night?
The Flyers don't match up well with the Penguins.
I don't think so
That's
either.
a disastrous matchup for them.
Yeah,
I
it
called.
is.
I think they're dead. I think the Flyers are dead. I think the Penguins move on.
Flyers will be lucky to get 1 game.
Right. Who's your Stanley Cup matchup?
I'm going to go out and say that this year ends up being one of those years where the President's Trophy team wins. I think Nashville Nashville actually might do it, even though it's the Kiss of Death Trophy.
Right. It is.
I think Tampa's got a good chance to win. Boston's got a good chance to win. But I think Boston might get upset by Toronto too. So it's one of those things where you got to get hot first.
Yeah, the East is really anyone's fight.
Pittsburgh, they're going to be tough to beat.
Especially if they play like they did last night.
Oh, yeah. We saw your website, sportsecyclopedia.com. What was the idea, and how did you start that?
Well, after graduating college, I had trouble finding a job. So in my spare time, I just started working on that website. And even after I got a job at the courthouse, I've been doing that in spare time and just growing it every day.
You had a famous rant that was aired, and you went off about New Jersey Transit. I know that I love to watch it every once and again. It kind of got your foot in the door at Barstool. What's Barstool HQ like?
Oh, it's fun. It's a giant party. It's everyone, they're working on it's a wide open space. They're working on their little articles, trying to add content, because that's all it's about is content.
Right.
They're adding different things every day, and everyone puts their little contributions in and coming up with little stories here and there.
So is it anything like The Office? I kind of picture it like The Office, but with more cussing and stuff. And more sports, obviously.
No, it's not like The Office. There's a lot of TVs on, and when there's a sporting event going on, everyone stops and starts watching the sporting events, of course.
Yeah.
Especially when I was there for the Division Series game.
Oh, yeah?
When the Red Sox got bounced by the Astros, so that was fun.
So, Dave Portnoy, we love Dave, obviously. He's a big internet guy. He's all over the internet and everything. We love the guy. He does come off with like a really arrogant, kind of cocky attitude. We were wondering, is that kind of like a persona he puts on, or is that really just Dave and how he acts in real life?
I think it's more of a persona. I don't think he's like that. Really? I think he just has that air of confidence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you can kind of see it progress from when Barstool first started to where it is now. Like Dave, in the earlier days, seemed a little less confident. He was a little chunkier back then, and now he's, slimmed down, got his hair back, and I feel like he's just got this confident aura about him that sometimes come off as cocky.
Yeah. Well, you know what happens is when you get confidence can come off as cocky.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that you'd be working at Barstool after that rant?
No, I didn't.
And you actually went on MLB Whip Around too right after that, and you talked to A-Rod.
That was great.
What was your favorite part about just that whole whirlwind of media right afterwards?
Probably the stuff at MLB, when I went to the MLB Network studio.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say is your favorite part about working at Barstool, like as far as working in the office?
Well, it's just that the opportunities it gives me.
Mm-hmm.
Gives me more exposure. There are a lot of fun people over there, a lot of characters, and just the connections it's helped me make.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Barstool employee outside of yourself?
Well, Stu is a little bit of a Barstool employee. Clem, Big Cat, AFC. I mean, these are the guys I really interact with.
Yeah.
Uncle Chaps a little bit. I've interacted with him. PMC commentator, of course.
Hilarious, isn't he? He's so witty. How does he come up with all that stuff?
He thinks that Joe Flacco's elite, and I tell him he's not.
He's not elite.
Have you ever seen his eyes without sunglasses? That's been something I want to do my entire life.
I've seen his eyes, yes. I've seen him in the office.
Really? What do they look like? Are you even allowed to describe them, or is that like against the rules?
I don't even really notice eyes, so I'm not like one of those people that just I don't even think about it.
Well, Frank, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
All right, no problem. That's anytime.
All right, sounds
All right,
good. Big thanks to Frank Fleming for coming on the podcast. Make sure to go check out his podcast, Allow Me to Be Frank, on SoundCloud and iTunes. We got some MLB storylines to hit up. Fellas, Giancarlo Stanton stinks.
Who would have known that out of all the fire sales that Giancarlo Stanton wouldn't be the best acquisition? Christian Yelich, he was tearing it up before he got injured. Marcell Ozuna is top 5 in the NL in hits. I think he was leading it on like Wednesday, so I don't know. Giancarlo Stanton is lackluster.
His strikes look really good. Like he's swinging super hard though, just to give him to play devil's advocate. They look good. They're good strikes.
He's swinging at anything in a zip code. He's not even trying to swing at any strikes.
The Yankees said that they would live with the strikeouts if it meant the production, like home runs, RBIs, and stuff. And he really hasn't given them much of that either yet. I know it's really early, but you just expect more from the reigning NL MVP,
Hey, Tugger, look it up real fast. Maybe he strikes out this much, but we didn't notice it because he was in piss-poor Miami.
Yeah, that's a good
But now
point.
that he's on a national stage in New York, people are like, he strikes out a lot. Yeah, he did last year too.
Well, he had those 2 0 for 5 strikeout games. Or one of them was an 0 for 7 5 strikeout game, the other 0 for 5 strikeouts. He didn't have a single game last year in his MVP season where he struck out more than 4 times. He's on pace to, 300 strikeouts this season, which is an ungodly number of strikeouts.
He struck out 163 times last year, which that's not a little bit. That's a
No,
good
that's
amount.
a good. That's a lot. That's quite a few times. That's more than a few less than 200.
His career high in striking out came in 2014, where he struck out 170 times. So it's not quite Mark Reynolds, but he's striking out a lot of times.
Since 2015, he's struck out 421 times, which is a per 162 game average of 188 times, which is very high.
Well, he's on pace to shatter that this year. If he keeps going at this rate. But you figure with a player who is that talented, a guy who can get it turned on a little bit, that he's going to pick up throughout the season. He's not going to finish with the 300 strikeouts he's on pace for. So, it's early, but I still can't believe the New York fans are booing this man.
Last year, Aaron Judge struck out 208 times, good enough for 6th on the strikeout leaderboard. It's not a leaderboard you really want to be on. A lot of these guys are still active on this leaderboard, too. I think it just shows you that it's more of a strikeout era. Chris Davis did it 219, 2016. Chris Carter, 212 times in 2013. Chris Davis and Chris Carter are on this list again. They're on here twice. So, the top 10, you have Chris Bryant at 11, Chris Davis again at 11. So, Joey Gallo at 17. Joey Gallo's a stud, but
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He can hit a ball a ton. But see, these guys can hit a ball a ton too, and they strike out.
I think it's funny because it kind of shows again how bad of a manager Derek Jeter is. Because we all know Derek Jeter was colluding with the Yankees, and he was like, all right, here's my whole team. I'm going to give you my best player. He's going to guarantee you 1,000 home runs. And he didn't even think for the fact that he gets 2,000 strikeouts for every 1,000 home runs he gets. So he's basically a wash. You know what I mean? He's either going to get you a run or get out. And so far he's gotten 0 runs, just all outs.
Yeah, Yankees fans would absolutely love this man if he could hit a home run for every 2 times he strikes out. Because, the guy's been striking out, 3-4 times in most games. And he's given him a home run about, once every 2 series so far? Once every series? So, aside from that fantastic opening day, yeah, it really has been the story about Stanton's struggles right now for the Yankees. And Judge isn't matching home runs quite the same pace he did last year. I think the whole Yankees offense right now is a little bit shocked that their best player is Didi Gregorius at this point. I think that'll change over the course of the season, like I've said, but, you can't feel bad for them, because they're the Yankees. So if the struggles continue, all you're going to hear is more talk about, this offseason move that didn't work out, how the Yankees are such a disappointment, when we're just going to keep hearing more and more of that through the season if they don't correct things.
Keeping with the Yankees theme here, they traveled to Boston for their first matchup of the year with those Red Sox, and it turned into a WWE match. Joe Kelly threw at Tyler Austin right after he came out to the yodeling Walmart Boy dubstep remix, because that's his entrance song, and that's awesome. And then he just said, let's go. So they just came in throwing punches. I love baseball fights. Baseball fights are amazing.
No, I love Joe Kelly so much. He was my favorite player when he was on the Cardinals, and unfortunately, they traded him for John Lackey. That turned out to be an okay move. But anyway, Joe Kelly's my favorite. I like Joe Kelly a lot, and just the balls on this guy to just we saw earlier in the day a different fight. Nolan Arenado ran at that pitcher, and Perdomo or whatever, threw his glove and ran away. But Joe Kelly said, no, come here. I'll fight you. I will fight you. And then he dodged a punch and started punching Tyler Austin in the back of the head. Big Joe Kelly guy, anti-Yankees podcast.
Do you think it's a coincidence that this happened right after WrestleMania, or do you think all of the players on both teams had just watched it and they're like, oh shit, that looks way more fun than baseball. Screw this swinging and stuff. I'm gonna start swinging at the pitcher instead of these pitches.
I think it was more of a coincidence that Tyler Austin's a douche. Slid into Brock Holt. No one likes that. There's a rule against that now. Chase Utley rule. Can't do that. And then Aaron Boone said, oh, that wasn't remotely dirty. Shut up, Aaron Boone. You were never good. You hit one good home run.
I think, to go off Shane's point here about WrestleMania, I think there's something about the city of Boston, because we see some of the best brawls in all of baseball in Boston. I think the people there, the crowd really amps people up, in Boston. And we've seen Pedro Martinez toss Don Zimmer to the ground, fights like that. The Veritek-Rodriguez fight happened in Fenway. One of my personal favorites when James Shields was on the Tampa Bay Rays, and he threw at Coco Crisp. Coco Crisp came out, and instead of dropping his glove and using his, his left hand, James Shields said, nah, screw this pitching hand. I'm swinging with the right. Thank God he missed, because Coco Crisp has a really thick head. I'm pretty sure it would have broken every bone in James Shields' hand. But I think, you go to the city of Boston, to play baseball against the Red Sox, and those fans will rile you up. A good team like the Red Sox will rile you up a bit. And like Kieran said, I'm a lot of respect for Joe Kelly. Number one, because he wears those rec specs when he pitches, which are awesome. My brother had to wear those, and a lot of kids on his team used to make jokes about that. So anybody who wears rec specs, we're a pro rec specs podcast, right, Kieran?
Yeah, Pro Rec Specs podcast.
Yeah, pro rec specs, pro pitchers fighting. You know, that Padres pitcher, he's got some explaining to do.
Yeah.
Thank goodness there was a fence there. Otherwise, he would have just probably run out into the Pacific Ocean, you know, running away from Arenado. So.
All the way from Colorado.
Oh, were they in Colorado? Yeah. He would want to run up to the mountains then.
Yeah.
It's a long run. It was a long run.
Arenado was running fast.
He would have just never stopped.
He'd have got there eventually. It was just taking a while. But yeah, no, I think that's a good point about the people of Boston. You know, they're just an angry people. And it's probably because their accents suck. Like, you know, everywhere else, if there's an accent, it's kind of cool. Like, a British accent is cool. Even in New York, like, Brooklyn accent's kind of cool. But, like, what are you, wicked smart? Like, that just sounds stupid.
You telling me you like Guido accents? Like from
better than
Staten
a
Island?
Boston accent. Okay, I never said Staten Island accents are good.
You said they're better.
I said
Big
Boston
New
accents
Jersey
are
guy
bad.
over there.
Yeah, huge New Jersey guy.
Shane loves New Jersey. That's why he's such a big Giants fan.
Hey, fuck you, man.
No, thank you.
Speaking of fucking, Yadier Molina doesn't like people to say he fucks moms.
Yeah, all my favorite players or three of my top 10 favorite players, Nolan Arenado, Joe Kelly, and Yadier Molina, all started getting a fight this week, and I love it. I love every second of it. Yadier Molina, nobody calls him a motherfucker, and Yadier Molina, I wanted him to beat that manager's ass. I don't care. I hate the Diamondbacks now. I hate that manager, but I like Daniel Descalso. So, yeah, put him. Kieran's top 10 players, Daniel Descalso was up there. It's all Cardinals and former Cardinals, and then Nolan Arenado.
Kieran went from so angry to I kind of like Darren Descalso. Like such a switch up. I don't know. I love to watch catchers fight because they have some protection, so I feel like they have a false sense of confidence. You know, they got the chest plate on. Yeah, or they can kick him with the shin guards. Why don't more catchers do that? Why don't more catchers like try to kick people with the shin guards? I feel like that would hurt like a bitch.
I like watching fights, like the breakdown of when the pitcher starts them, watching the catcher try to catch up, because the catcher's like, oh my gosh, my pitcher has bitten off more than he can chew. Like the Carlos Quentin-Zach Greinke fight, Zach Greinke's catcher could not catch up, so Zach Greinke fractured his collarbone or whatever it was. So like just watching the catchers try to catch up with all their equipment, I love it. I love baseball fights. I love baseball. Let's go Cardinals.
That's another thing about that Red Sox catcher was he saw how mad the Yankees guy got. What's his name? I forgot his name. Tyler Austin.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, he saw how mad Austin
sucked.
He saw how mad Austin got. He slammed his bat down, before he ran out there. And the Red Sox catcher, I think, he knew what a badass Joe Kelly was, out there in his rec specs, just blazing balls into the guy's ribcage. He said, nah, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you take a few to the head here. You've wanted to charge the mound, so big ups to the Red Sox catcher too, because we got to see another Red Sox-Yankees fight, and we got to see that punk Tyler Austin get his ass kicked.
Another thing in that Nolan Arenado fight, he did not hesitate to go out there. He ran straight at him. That catcher had no chance to catch Nolan Arenado because I think he knew in his head that he's like, if this guy throws at me, which there was a possibility he was going to, they hit a couple guys, I think it was the game before, they hit a couple guys accidentally. So this pitcher, I don't even know who he is, probably some no-name, drills him right in the hip. He just takes off, runs right for him.
Why don't more batters take the bat with them?
I think,
you know what I mean? You have a weapon. Like, I know, but like it's a fight. I'm going to take the bat.
I think the one thing that baseball fights have shown us is the best player needs to get better at fighting. So like Bryce Harper went out there, Tuck's favorite, went out there, hurled his helmet 3 feet total straight into the ground. And
his helmet toss looked like 50 cents, first opening pitch. Do you guys remember that? Just straight left, not even close to the target.
Nolan Arenado went out there, dodged the glove, but then missed with a couple punches. Alex Rodriguez let himself get punched in the face by Jason Varitek. I mean, just if you're a good player, maybe take 10 to 15 boxing lessons. Oh yeah, Jose Bautista just got sucker punched in the mouth, and he was not expecting that. So just, if you're a team's best player, I would suggest maybe 10 to 15 boxing lessons in the offseason. You're already going to be working out, so just get better at something you're probably going to do at least once in a season.
But if you'll notice, nobody's throwing at the league's best player, Mike Trout, because they know Mike Trout, he's a muscle hound. He's got probably the best neck in baseball. Nobody wants to mess with this man. They say, all right, we'll throw up Pretty Boy Harper. Nobody's touching Mike Trout, best player in baseball.
Plus, he's just a sweetheart. Like, how could you be mean to that guy?
Your Dono Ventura did throw up Mike Trout. Remember, he stared him down.
True, yeah. It was that jersey in him, though, was telling him, you know what, I've got to be a respectful man. Because he's a very, very respectful player, too. And he could have used that muscle neck, to come out, charge the pitcher and all that. But, he kept a cooler head about him. He's a very mature player. There's no way we're going to enjoy this Royals-Angels game on Sunday.
No,
now
I'm
that this is in his mind, too. This is just going to be...
I'm not going to cheer from there.
No, you don't cheer for Mike Trout there.
Tucker asked me if I wanted to go. I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool to watch the Angels play, but I'm just going with a bunch of guys who are gonna boo Mike Trout, who I like. So I'm just gonna stay in town.
No, I'm only going to boo Shohei Ohtani. Shane, I assume he's not going to. There's another tall Asian for him. So,
Big Asian guy.
Big Asian guy.
Tuck, how many strikeouts does Shohei Ohtani have to get on Sunday for you to admit on the podcast that you like him?
27. Yeah, 27.
All right, challenge accepted. Shohei Ohtani, 27 strikeouts.
I'll revise it. I'll say if he gets 11 strikeouts, then I will say that he is a good pitcher.
On our roster? On our roster?
11. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, I've got one. This is, for my final thoughts, I think I'm going to try to find a good sports quote to bring in every week. So this one comes from Oakland Raiders head coach John Gruden. Anything goes on any given Sunday, especially Monday night. It's deep. It's a thinker. Not everyone's going to get that one, but
Right.
it's a thinker.
Right. Toby, you got anything?
Yeah. So we didn't talk about soccer a whole lot on the podcast, ever really. I mean, Tuck mentioned them today, the number 10s in soccer, but in the UEFA League quarterfinal, which is the tournament that spans all of Europe, the place where soccer is most popular, this Italian team, AS Roma, who are pretty good, they're definitely not up to FC Barcelona standards. They came back on aggregate scoring from down 4-1. They ended up winning that, or they tied on aggregate score 4-4. But they advanced because in the first game, they got a garbage time goal to make it 4-1, as the score. And the tiebreaker is determined on away goals. So Barcelona had none. AS Roma had one. So they pulled off one of the most shocking upsets in European soccer history by defeating just this juggernaut team with Messi, Neymar, Luis Suarez on it. And for those of you who aren't familiar with soccer, it's a comeback that would probably rival like the Cavaliers' 2016 championship run when they came back against the Warriors from down 3-1, and the Patriots' 28-3 comeback against the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Now, they didn't win the championship, but I'm pretty convinced they're going to now.
Kieran, your final thought?
I'm convinced Rob Manfred hates baseball and just hates a good time, because the quote that he has that he wants to limit the number of pitching changes in an inning, which I think is ridiculous. He wants to put a pitch clock on pitchers and stuff like that. I just feel like he's never enjoyed baseball once, and he's wanted to shorten this game when we got sports like NASCAR out here that literally go on forever. Like NASCAR is, okay, this is my opinion, but NASCAR is a far less interesting sport, and it takes so much longer. So, like, why are we worried about making the game of baseball shorter when there are much longer, more boring sports out there? Eventually, he's going to make it so baseball is 3 innings, and you don't need a bullpen. You just got one pitcher. He just goes out there, pitches 3 innings, and they're like, all right, that was a great.
Yeah, it'll be kickball.
Yeah, it'll be kickball. If you get all the out, if you play in defense and you get all the outs, you get to bat first next inning. So it's just like, wow, what a great time. 3 innings. I'm glad I spent $40 on a ticket.
My final thought is, what letter is silent in the word sent, the S or the C?
Holy shit, Doug.
And that'll do it for this week's Nosebleed Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Like us on Facebook at Nosebleed Knowledge. Follow us on Twitter at NosebleedSnow. We'll see ya.